Hohem have given me the new iSteady MT2 to review. It's a powerful, lightweight, smart gimbal for action cams, mobiles and mirrorless cameras. So we thought, yes, let's go to COS, try out all the features and make a movie.
I remember, I don't forget, bitch, I'm everywhere in town. Thinking about the ways to get my bread up. Trying to see the chain we was up. I got no resentment, no vendetta. Yeah, she told me up because I let her. Bet I eat that bar like it's a setup. Pussy dripping down on the stilettos. I don't want the silence.
So a unique feature of the MT2 is the AI tracking that clips onto the gimbal. To activate it, you just switch it on, a little red dot will show. And then all you need to do is give the OK sign. The green light comes on the AI tracking, and now it will follow your every move. So if you're presenting to camera, this is a fabulous way of doing this without needing a second operator. Now, if you want to recenter the gimbal or have rule of thirds, all you need to do is make 2 L brackets and the green light will start flashing. You can move yourself over to your desired position, make the L shape again, it'll stop flashing, and then as you move, you will now be in that new position. To cancel it, you do a flat hand and you'll see a red light and it turns off the AI tracking. First, of course, you've got to set up your gimbal and balance your camera. So we take this plate and we just screw it on here. It does have this pop-up metal ring, or you could use the supplied key here, and you fit it to this piece here. You tighten these 2 screws here to the width of your camera. Slide your camera on here. So this is in the center. To set the gimbal up, locking buttons that we need to release. There's one here, there's one here. We'll start by releasing this one, push it down. This is the AI. These are here. First axis is the upwards. So we need to balance backwards or forwards to get this back. To release this, move the camera back. Just this. To power on, you press this 3 seconds. To stand by, you hit that twice. To wake up, press it once. To switch between the gimbal modes, you press the mode button once. From pan, follow at default, pan, tilt, follow, lock, POV or first person view. If you press 3 times, it'll go into inception mode. 1, 2, 3. And press this once to return back. Press 5 times to go into auto calibration, and press 7 times to go into remote pairing. Press 9 times and it will clear all the remote connections. 1 long press will go into sub menus. So 1, 2, 3, and you can see we've now have sub menus for pairing. And a long press to come out of that. Joystick works like normal joysticks. You have the trigger, press it twice, recenters, press it once, it's in sport mode, press it 3 times, 1, 2, 3, it will go to selfie mode, double tap then hold, you'll go into lock mode. This is the zoom lever, zooming in, zooming out, and this is the shutter button. A half press or autofocus, very similar to your normal camera. Press once to start recording, once to stop recording. Press and hold for 1 second to take a photo. Press twice to switch between photo and video mode. The multifunctional control wheel you press twice to focus or switch to roll. If you've bought the optional extra AI tracking device or fill light, you control it by clicking this 3 times and it will go between the CCT or the RGB mode, and you can turn this also to brighten it or darken it. Here is the AB button, which you use in conjunction with the mode button to go into pairing, and this is how I've paired the A7C camera, which is why I have no cables connected. Some cameras you will need to connect them through a cable. The AB button here is for the time lapse. That's complicated, we'll come back to that. So the beauty of this design is this fantastic L bracket that we can quickly release the camera, pushing in the release button, switch it around into portrait mode, slide it on, and we're now shooting in vertical mode. Now to attach the smartphone, we take the bracket off the camera and we attach the smartphone bracket onto there, use the lock here, and now we can fit the camera. Slide this on like so, lock it down here, and now we've got our smartphone fitted, and all we need to do is go through the same balancing as we did before. The Hohem Joy app is a really cool and useful little tool for the mirrorless camera or for the smartphone. So just download it from your Play Store or iTunes and then open it up and connect it to your gimbal in the normal fashion through Bluetooth, and then you'll notice along the bottom you've got big orange circle, and that's where you connect to your camera. You just enter the mode and it automatically will go to the controlling for the mirrorless camera, and you'll see you've got joystick control, motion control and time-lapse control. So if we just tap into the joystick, you'll see at the moment it's on pan follow, and if we click on that bottom left hand corner, you've got pan tilt follow, the lock and POV mode. So in pan follow we can just move this little joystick here from right to left, and you'll see it's moving the camera around. Really amazing for remote control. Now if you click this little circle at the bottom, it'll just recenter the gimbal. To the left of that, it'll turn it 180 degrees, and in the center you can start recording. You've then on the right hand side got a settings control, and there's loads of refinements here you can make to the follow speed, the motor response and the joystick and roll adjustments. So you can just go in and just play with refining those. Just back out of that, and you'll notice there's a line with a rectangle in it, and that will just give you the roll, so we can just start to roll the camera. And then if we just hit the back arrow here, we can come out of that, and then we've got motion control. And to enable that, it says enable force mobile. You'll hear a beep, and now as I move, it takes some getting used to. Time-lapse sequence, and so we can move joystick or adjust gimbal axis manually to get viewing spot. Click to add spot. Up to 5 spots can be added. Add a spot. Add a spot. We can save that, or we can just start that sequence. You'll notice in the top right hand side we've got the camera icon, so if we click on that, now we're operating the app for the smartphone, and this would normally be when it's connected to the gimbal, which we'll look at shortly. Now, just looking on the right hand side, at the moment we're in video mode, and on the left we have various options of adjusting whether it's close range, long range, or wide, or a tight shot. And then dropping down we can choose our 1080p or 4K at 30 frames a second. Then dropping down you have your settings, and then you can select your camera, whether it's front or back camera. We can choose photo size, your grid, your timers, and other functions that will just refine all the actions here. Professional mode is probably of most interest to myself, where you can adjust your ISO and your white balance manually, so that's really helpful. That's got that there. If you drop down on the left hand side, you've got the gimbal, and then you can adjust and refine the gimbal responses. So back over to the right hand side, okay, above that you've got photo, and you can control whether you've got flash on or off. To create a time lapse using the app, you just go to the time lapse button, and then you press the record button, and it brings up the pop-up window. And what you do is you press the plus button at the beginning of the motion, and then you use the joystick to move to the end of your motion, and you hit the plus button again. You can actually do up to 5 different points, and then when you've completed that, you press the start, and it will go back to the beginning and then start smoothly making lots of short images to create the time lapse. Once completed, it'll ask you if you want to save it or re-record, and then you're done. In slow motion mode, you just set up your direction, hit the slow-mo button, and it will create a super smooth slow motion. And then moment. Now these are nice little templates that you can do. You've got inception mode, facing the sea, travel, back to the past, a raindrop control, night rain, smart dolly, a dolly zoom, smart motion time lapse, panoramic video, and clone me. So we'll have a little look at all of those once we've got the mobile phone attached to the gimbal, and then we can just try out some of those techniques. You've probably guessed by now, I absolutely love this, and it's been with me all the time for the last month, and I've used it for all my content creation. It's a really smashing little tool. It's packed with so many features. This video could have been twice the length. I haven't even gone into action cameras, and there's more things within the app that I haven't covered, that we've just brushed over quickly. So I think value for money, this is amazing. I mean, UK is $3.29. I think that's fantastic. If you compare it to a mobile phone gimbal, it's maybe expensive. If you compare it to a digital camera gimbal, it's cheap. They've pitched the price in between the two, but it's absolutely amazing. It's really light, it's really slim. I've been using it like this a lot of the time. It just goes in my backpack, and I can just pull it out, set it up within 20 seconds, and I'm filming. It's fantastic. As you can see, I've got my mic receiver attached there, and I just clip it on, make a slight adjustment at the back, and I'm ready to start filming. I think it's really well made, and it's really well thought out. The build of this is really good. I think it's going to last really well. I have found with my mobile phone, I can't sit it right up to the edge here because the camera is just here, and I'm using the screen a lot of the time. I can't turn it round because this would be covering the screen. I've tried it the other way up, so the camera's on this side. The problem there is if I'm using the Hohem app, then the icons and everything are upside down, so it doesn't spin round. So I just have to use it slightly further out, which does mean I have to make sure it's set correctly. And I have also switched out the stand. I've got a larger stand on it, a larger tripod here. That was mainly because I tried the A7R5. Where's the A7R5? I had tried the A7R5 on here with the 24mm G Master lens, and that's what I'd normally use for video on a gimbal. It was almost okay. The weight I couldn't quite balance, so I ended up putting a very small little light just on here to counterbalance it, and that did work, but it wasn't ideal. It was quite heavy and the stand was then too small, so I put the larger stand on, and I've now just left this on because when I'm out and about, rough surfaces, this is ideal. But the stand that comes with it is perfectly fine. But for me, I just prefer that larger stand. I did find sometimes, because there's so many features and functions, that you're doing lots of little clicks here to get to another menu. And to remember that is quite tricky. It's like you've only ever used a dial-up phone and someone suddenly gives you a smartphone and you've got to work out how to use it or remember how to use it. So I found I was referring to the manual quite often and all the information is there, and it's just sometimes hard to remember that. Particularly like using the Bluetooth, because my mirrorless cameras both would connect by Bluetooth, was fantastic. I didn't need any cables. But then when I wanted to switch to using the mobile phone, you've got to disconnect the Bluetooth and then reconnect the other device. And sometimes it's a bit glitchy. You need to turn everything off, turn it back on, and then it would find the device. So to quickly switch from device to device wasn't really very helpful. So I've ended up actually using it like this most of the time when I'm just out running and gunning and I'm using it for myself for content creation. When I've used it on client jobs, I've just set it up the night before just to make sure I'm not messing around with Bluetooth. But I've loved the size of this. It's so easy to pack away, and all I've been doing is popping it in my bag like that. It's so thin and slim. If I'm on a smaller bag, I just take the bottom off, but I've actually found that it just fits in my bag like that. So this is definitely staying in my kit bag. Crack little device. If you're interested in it, there's a link in the description below. Hope you found that really useful. You've learned a lot. Go out and create some fantastic content. If you want to know more about gimbals, there's a playlist over here. Show me the love, subscribe to the channel up here, and I will see you over there.